Hi, my name is Marz. I'm the president and CEO of Wallbridge Mining. Wallbridge Mining trades on the Toronto Stock Exchange under the symbol WM. We've been focusing on our flagship projects along the Detour-Fenelon Gold Trend, with the Fenelon Gold being our most advanced assets, and the second advanced asset is the Martinière deposit. This is a large-scale land package of about over 900 square kilometers, about 97 kilometers from the Detour Lake mine along the Sunday Lake Deformation Zone towards the east. There's already 3 gold systems identified on this trend, Detour being the largest, and then our Fenelon and Martinière. And this land package is very underexplored and very prospective, particularly because we've actually, through our regional exploration, we've gone to areas where they hadn't seen any drilling, and we continue to hit visible gold as well as mineralization, which can continue to find potential discoveries in the future. We just released our maiden resource estimate in November of last year. This year's program is about a 150,000 meter drill program, focusing on the expansion at Fenelon as well as expansion at Martinière and some regional exploration. We're hoping that we'd be able to, with this year's program, bring Fenelon to its next milestone with an updated MRE, as well as carrying it into an economic study, and along the way expand the Martinière deposit to be the additional pipeline in the projects that are there to come.
There we go. Marz, thanks for coming. That was a great story.
I have a call.
You just told the whole story. Look, we're here in Quebec. There's kind of a Quebec-focused conference. How far have you had to travel?
Not far.
Not far, yeah, exactly. I'm shattered, so this will be short and polite and nice. Hey, we had a great session with you and the team technically a couple of months ago, I think. Correct. Now, kind of help reveal how you're kind of coming at the modelling for the drilling, and what you are finding, what you're hoping to find. So that's all kind of good news, but we can't not have a conversation about the market conditions around. Everyone's being battered.
Yes.
Okay. Everyone's being hurt hard, long and hard. So you're all in the same boat. But in a way, do you think it's a good thing? Because it's going to maybe shake the tree a little bit, and some of these marginal projects are perhaps going to find it more difficult than others. So where do you put yourself?
Well, first of all, I don't think it's a good thing for any company to lose value, but we also understand this is a very cyclic business. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the projects of ours is not going to be a victim of a marginal project, because we've already demonstrated that it isn't. Mm-hmm. In terms of the current cycle, we certainly appreciate where we are today. In fact, we probably have trended a little lower than what the industry has done over the past few months, particularly because it's a stage of the project, and we have to really demonstrate the value of the project with the next updated MRE, as well as carrying it into an economic study.
Right, okay, so let's talk about money. So how much cash are you sitting on at the moment? Because you've got a bunch of stuff that you need to deliver this year, that you want to deliver this year. Yeah. You give cash?
Yeah, we have about little over $40 million, and we're expecting another $20 million from the Quebec government on our 2021 tax credit. So we'll be, after completing this year's aggressive exploration program, we're going to be left anywhere between $20 to $30 million carrying into 2023. Okay,
so that's quite healthy. So in a very meaningful way, this, I think someone described it earlier in an earlier interview, as a blip in the market at the moment. You're not immune, but you're not going to hurt so much because you got the money. You're not raising capital.
Well, our intention is to bring the project to a milestone before we actually raise the capital, because obviously we're still an exploration company. We do have to raise capital. We're going to be cash flow generator or not for a few years to come. Yeah. But certainly, when we did the financing in February of this year, we were asked, why are you doing that at those prices? But whereas today, we feel that was a right decision to do, and setting ourselves up for making sure that we get ourselves to the next milestone. So yeah, it's not going to affect us as much, but at the end of the day, it's affecting the whole industry, so we're not going to be immune to it either.
Right. And do you think that you are possibly kind of right for someone to come in and say, we'll have that. They're really undervalued. We can sort of see the beginnings of what they've got. We can do our own modelling and understand, how we would come at this with our bigger balance sheet. Have you got a defensible position?
Yes. And in fact, that's something that is the top of mind, because especially at these depressed prices, we certainly have done our homework internally with our financial advisors. We've got a pretty good defensive position in terms of where our value should be. And certainly this year's program is going to bring us to that. So.
Okay, so let's talk about this. Let's lay this out to get an updated resource, you're going to show a certain scale for the market to get excited. You're going to say, one, I'm not a marginal project. Two, we believe the economics do stand up in today's environment, inflation, etc.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So you got some big things to try and deliver, which aren't the same things you thought you needed to deliver, say perhaps 6 months ago, because markets change, right?
Yeah.
So how are you feeling about that?
Well, certainly, we know that the delivery that we had in November of last year with the resource estimate disappointed the market from a point of view of not necessarily the size, but the grade, and understanding the optimization of that resource. We believe that in this updated resource that we're going to have, we certainly see more of a primarily an underground bulk minables deposit, and it's still going to have some near surface stuff, partly because of the Gabbro and Area 51 and some of the Tabasco Cayenne zones near surface, but the majority is going to be in an underground. Yeah. We've already used the analog of Young-Davidson of Alamos or Jacobina of Yamana or Gold X's operation, and we certainly see our deposit in terms of all of those analogs as a higher grade resource already. We'll have a higher grade reserve, hopefully, after we do the studies, and we're certainly going to be able to demonstrate the robustness of that project. Internally, we've looked at this from a point of view of bulk mineable underground scenario. Yeah. And we certainly see a very robust program.
So what grade are we talking about on average?
Well, on average, in fact, our resource estimate, when it came out, already looked at it from a 1.5 gram cutoff grade. Yeah. In terms of a bulk mineable, it was together between indicated and inferred about 2.7 million ounces of 3.3 grams a ton. Right. And that's indicated and inferred together. But when we really look at it, that was just based on that MRE. This year's program certainly going to improve that to begin with and also expand it.
How?
Because we're drilling not only in the areas within the existing footprint of the deposit itself, but we certainly have a lot of the expansion potential along the around the deposit. The entire Fenelon deposit, including Martinière, is only constrained by the amount of drilling, not by geology. We still haven't found the end of that deposit, and we continue to drill those. In fact, just about a kilometer south, we're now looking at the Ripley zone, for example, as an addition to the Fenelon deposit. This is only 900 meters down to the south of that. So any satellite deposit that you find around the Fenelon itself is even going to improve the economics of the Fenelon as it's on its own.
So where's Canadian development at the moment? Because it seems kind of fashionable elsewhere in the world, and even we're hearing a few new projects in Canada trying to say, well, let's get into revenue sooner. It's the big thing for Canada is let's drill to the edge of the envelope. We'll keep drilling and improve the scale. Right. You kind of got a different set of problems. Again, partly because the history of how you kind of got to where you are today, and this market that we're in right now. Yeah. You've got to say, either I believe a major will come along and want just ounces in the ground. Whatever that looks like, they need ounces in the ground, and we can paint that picture. Or if you're defensible, you say, well, actually, we need to have a plan which is really clear to the signals to the market. The growth is still here with this company, and it's in our control. That growth is in our control.
Right. So from point of view, any deposit, this is not something that you're going to turn any project. You're going to turn it into production within a 2 to 3 year period, unless you have a very small scale project like we used to back in the day when we had the Gabbro zones. We believed we were going to be able to get that sooner to production. When we look at a large project like Fenelon itself, it certainly takes time for us to be able to demonstrate its size potential, which we did. The second is to actually demonstrate to the market what it has. Next, you're going to refine that in order to be able to carry it into an economic study. Once the economic study is done, you provide yourself a project description. Then you start the permitting process. That's the process in Canada in terms of the project. And in Canada, there is different provinces with different timelines. Quebec is actually one of the jurisdictions that is really good in terms of permitting process, because it's the First Nation consultations are very established procedures that you follow. So we certainly see the timeline does not change from our point of view. If we carry out with the economic study next year, we see that perhaps within a 3 to 4 year, we'd be able to be bringing the project into production if the economics support that, which obviously we need to do to get there.
Right. And what do you say about the register, right? Because again, in markets like this, weekends tend to go risk off, cash in hand, and lots of companies are saying this at the moment, right? But you've got to think to the future, right? Which is what the type of shareholders that you want and need for the company that you want to be. Because you had, again, 18 months ago, 2 years ago, you had that, we're shooting off to the moon. People were talking a narrative. You weren't driving it, but the market was talking a narrative, which kind of, it didn't do you any favors, right? So you're cognizant of that. what type of shareholders would be suitable for a company like yours going forward?
Well, I think we have a pretty diverse shareholder group. I mean, obviously, Agnico Eagle is a 10% shareholder of our company. We have Eric Sprott, who's a little under 20%. And then there is William Day Construction and all the other funds that we have. At the end of the day, it's the
But is that what you want? Because they usually sit on it for a while, right? You need the kind of liquidity and the volume of trading thing is that end of it. You don't want more of the same. You don't want the kind of day trader things.
Well, certainly every company that wants to get into the development stage and production stage certainly requires more institutional funds into it, partly because they're the ones who would probably be able to finance the project advancing that. But at the end of the day, liquidity also comes from your retail side. So we certainly appreciate that. We have that mix today. From our point of view, as long as you deliver the project, the shareholders will come to you. And our focus today is ensure that we get to that milestone. So you talked about, when are you going to tell the market what the value is in terms of making sure nobody comes in ahead of time sooner than what they should to make an offer. And that's exactly what we're doing today. We believe that the next updated milestone, next updated resources would be the first milestone in creating value for the shareholder.
And that's in which quarter? Q4?
Well, we're hoping that we'll do it before Q1 of next year. Q1 in terms of the resource estimate, and then subsequent to that would be a short time after we'll have the economic study.
Okay, and so like I said, we'll put a link to the technical conversation below because I think that's important. Everyone who's serious about investing in you sees that. There's some real thought that's gone into that, and that was a good conversation. And you have to excuse the bing bongs in the background. We're here at a conference, folks, so we always get complaints about noise because we're not sitting in a cave. We're surrounded by people. So with regards to so that's the next milestone at Q1 of next year. You've got the cash to run through to the end of 2023 by the sounds of it. So what else would we expect in 2023 from you? Okay.
So one of the things we did at the beginning of this year, we put our program for the year. And it was about 150 to 160,000 meters. We were going to concurrently spend about 60% of our efforts on Fenelon, 30% at Martinière, and 10% regional. One of the things we realized, and especially under the current market conditions, we need to make sure that we're prudent with how we spend our money and being able to get ourselves to that milestone. So one of the things we're looking at right now is basically focusing our efforts on Fenelon, where we know it's the most advanced project, bringing that to a first milestone, get some value, improve the share price, and then carry out our program for the balances. So the strategy hasn't changed. What we've really done is probably looking at shuffling the priorities to make sure that our Fenelon gets to this milestone. And we have that flexibility, especially as I mentioned, we're going to start 2023 with somewhere between $20 and $30 million. So we certainly have the flexibility. If the market really is bad, we'll be able to sustain ourselves for a good portion of the year.
Okay. I'm going to wrap it up there because the bing bongs are getting quite loud. It's not something I've said before.
I think that's lunchtime now.
Yes, maybe it's lunchtime. Okay. Look, I mean, it's fascinating seeing how you kind of weathered the storm in the sense of the kind of, I think the fallout from the promote which other people were doing on you, and focus on doing the business of running the business. Are you getting hampered at all, or do you get any feedback with regards to the timeline in terms of time frame to get into production? Because we've seen a couple of other kind of Quebec companies struggle with that same thing, where they're big projects. You've got potentially big project. It just feels 2025, 2026 feels a long way away. So are people wrapping their heads around the opportunity?
To be honest with you, I mean, we haven't really heard any complaints about the fact that the timeline is wrong, because those who invest in junior exploration companies, I mean, we deliver the maiden resource within 3 years of the discoveries. So from our point of view, we're still very much ahead of the pace in terms of a project advancement. But at the end of the day, this is what the project takes, especially a large project like Fenelon and additionally Martinière. So from our point of view, we think that the timeline that we have is very much at par or better in terms of the industry as a whole.
Okay, good to see you.
Thanks.
We look forward to speaking to you again real soon.
Same here. Thanks, Matt.